everyone, welcome back to Pommy and Oz. Hope we're all doing exceptionally well. We're halfway through the working week, which means it's the VFL wrap. And this is a really exciting one because everyone's anticipating a few changes. So without any further ado, let's get into it. First of all, though, if you are new around here, please drop a like, please drop a subscribe. Make sure you smash it. We're absolutely smashing out subs at the moment. You can go a step further, become a member of the channel, which really does help us out. We do really cool stuff. We sponsored Big Dom in the VFL, who we're going to talk about today. We do giveaways. We've got another sponsorship in the works that I'm just about to press the button on, so stay tuned for that. Super exciting because we're giving back to the community, and that is what it's all about. And we've got a fantastic community here. Absolute wonderful stuff. Link is in the description to that. Come and join us. And if you are a returning Pommer and Ozzer, good day, how are you doing? I hope you're okay. Thank you for joining me. So, the VFL was an absolute really exciting game. They came back from, really, they got victory in the jaws of defeat. Weribee were a better side. One thing I've noticed about this Carlton VFL side is its intensity. It's never say die. It fights and fights and fights. Even the week against Richmond the other week, where they got battered, they still gave it a go. And that fourth quarter, they just had more run, more legs. The fitness of these boys is really impressive. And what is really good is you're starting to see transition offense from them. You're starting to see it's been a heavy focus. And I think that's a blessing for the AFL side, because what you're seeing is these boys naturally are offensive, and that is really good. And they've got a really clean, methodical way of running as well. They run in good patterns. They hit the ground hard. They hit the ball hard. And there was no loopy bollocks handballs to be seen. Everything is flat. Everything's direct. And you can see if this is the layer that they're building and the next gen that are coming up through, that is only going to hold us in well. And it's a really good place, I think, to send some of these AFL boys to try and work on that, because there is a little bit more time. Some really key things as well, that it's the link up and the running ahead of the ball is really poignant. The overlap from these boys is really impressive, and it's something that I really do hope he's been primarily focused on to add that layer in the AFL, which would make sense. Richmond are quite similar in the terms of when you watch the Richmond VFL in 2016-2017, what the seniors did in a year's time was really poignant when you watch the VFL. It was really poignant of what they were building. You could see that they were like, these are fresh faces, these are guinea pigs, let's trial it, let's get it licked. And that's what I'm hoping we're starting to see. But I want to talk about the D word from these boys. Development, development, development. There is a real development feel about this side. The layers that we're starting to see on them. Every week I watch this, someone is starting to work on something. You're starting to see the fruits of the labour. And that is really integral for me. They've got a real good blend in that VFL. And I really enjoyed this game. It was a very good win in the end. And it was the scoreline, it didn't feel rushed in the fourth. In the fourth, it did feel like they were going to run away with it. There was an air, and I was really impressed. Some real standout performances. So without any further ado, let's go and take a look. So we start off with Paddy Dow, the much maligned player, the guy that we always talk about, don't we? And here is his game. 16 touches for him, 5 tackles, 1 goal. Really good intent in and around the ball. We just didn't quite find it today. I felt like he played a little bit more behind the ball. Kind of played almost that a la George Hewitt role for probably the first half. So I don't know if that's something he's working on. I think that kind of accounts for his touches. We know that Vossi says that he's looking for a very dynamic style of play from his players. I thought he did his role though, the R word. And when I look at the seniors, we are very one-paced in the middle of the park, I feel. I feel like we're very one-dimensional at times. One thing Dow does is he gets the ball in there, gets it in the guts, looks to take the game on. He had some wonderful passages of play. I think he's been affected by the sub. I didn't like that. I thought that was silly. I don't know if that was just to get him in and around the seniors. I don't know quite what the thinking was there, if there was maybe a harbouring an injury and they thought he may play. But all in all, he took his goal very well. He's very crafty in and around them stoppages as well. Looked to take the game on. Some nice use as well for him, and he looks to kick inbound, which is a real big positive. for the AFL side. That's something that in the last 3 weeks, as we discussed in the last video, something that's not been done, looking to take the game on, looking for that overlap run. I didn't mind it. I don't think he's done enough to get in the seniors. I think he's going to be another game. I don't think he's far off, to be honest. This game here, I think, was more of a role-playing game for him, which I want to see from Dow. Obviously, you weren't going to get your 30 touches, your 22, but he did impact. And then 5 tackles, as you see, they were very much needed tackles as well. Helped slow the game down. So I enjoyed his game. It's not one of them. This is one of them games where people are going to look at the disposals and go 16 in VFL. It's ridiculous. You've got to understand what his role was. And his role here was literally, he was more of the feeder out the back in the game. Everything went through Hayes in this one. So I enjoyed what he did. And it's a good thing to build on, because that physicality is something that's always been questioned. We saw a lot of it from Dow. So good boundary for me. Good base level from him, especially with the tackle front and the intensity. I enjoyed that, especially with some of his distribution. Lachie O'Brien, probably the stiffest man to ever been dropped by Cowan. Probably the first time the club has ever used the fans to drop someone. I really enjoyed his game, and as you can see here, interesting this one. Played a lot more of a defensive role than we're used to from him. And what I really enjoyed here is everyone always has a left footer on the left-hand side, which is fair enough. Do you know what I mean? It makes sense. But you look at the great players that come in off their left foot, it's very damaging. And in today's game as well, that inside-out kick is starting to kill teams, and we really did see that from Dowd and from O'Brien today. And I really enjoyed it. He was everywhere and really displaying that elite running, but also displaying that ability. Few loose kicks down the back, but it was always the aggressive option, and you're looking for the right option, and you're still going to get your ass kicked if you make the wrong option. But I enjoyed the fact that when he did make the mistakes, he was definitely the right option. Really makes himself available. And this is someone that, if you're looking at Cottrell's role in the AFL, this guy's got it sewn up. He's so far ahead. And the layers Lachie has added to his game, particularly this week, particularly what you saw last week. It wasn't his best game in VFL, but there was signs that he was trying to work on something. If he brings this kind of energy to the AFL, he's going to be very good. Long kicks deep into side 50 as well. Roamed the pack very well for his goal with the forward line. Really enjoyed Lachie O'Brien's game, and for me, that is the one. They protect one wing to give the defensive side. If Lachie O'Brien is playing that aggressive wingers role, totally fine with one tackle, honestly, because that is how Carlton play. One attacking, one defensive, and I really enjoyed O'Brien's game. Shoo-in to play next week. If he doesn't play next week, there's something wrong. Fogarty enjoyed his game. This is the AFL Fog, though. 20 touches, 4 marks, 6 tackles. Brings the intensity. It's a tough one here, because I think that when you look at the makeup of the midfield for where he's playing, it's either Foggy or Kennedy. It's got to be Kennedy for me. I liked his game, but when I watch Fog, I think, what do you bring that we don't already have? And pressure's one thing, but when you're looking at our team, sometimes feel like when we select our team, there's too much focus on tackle pressure. Way too much, because it's all well and good winning the ball back, but our issue at the moment is turning the ball into something. Do you know what I mean? Hence the turnover conversation that everyone is blaring about, and I can't wait for them to fix it, because to be honest, I'm bored of hearing about it. And Fog, if he's in your team, you ain't fixing your transition. He doesn't do enough for me offensively, offense-wise, but it was a very solid pressure game. And if this type of guy is in the VFL, it's brilliant for the AFL boys, because if you can get ahead of this guy, he's steady. He's steady, and I enjoyed his game. He really does bring it every time I see him play. But for me, I want to see something added, another layer. And he's a guy that the layers he's got are very good. Just don't think he has enough second gear, really. Stocks, brilliant game. This guy, defensively, is lit. But when you're looking at the AFL and you're looking at these players and saying who's going to step up, this is what we're crying out for in the back line. Aside from Doc, no one looks to take the game on defensively. And you're looking why our transition is poor. That is why. And Stocks just delivers that ball. The mistakes he made, again, doing the right thing, taking the game on. Real strong. Aerially, he's very good as well. Looks to bring the ball down and he's invariably the first to it. A complete game from Liam here. And we use them analogies that he reminds me of Luke Hodge a couple of years ago. This is why he founds the ball. Probably about nine of them were kick-ins, probably less. That's just off the top of my head. Probably 6, I'd say, to be fair, looking at the heat map. 7, 8. Real solid use of the ball. Brave. A lot of the marks, backs to the man, really taking it at the highest. Against the taller opponent, this guy's deadly as well. He plays to his strengths. Real handful down the back. Looks to take the game on as well. There were some wonderful passages where he got the ball and he just took the line on. He's kind of like a hybrid at the moment between Doc, Plowman and Sard. Hasn't got Sard's pace, but looks to break the line before he kicks. And that is integral in what we're doing down the back. Has to play this week. Has to play. Stocker is primed. Jackie Carroll loved this game. Loved this game. Love the fact he drifts down to the right. Gives you an option here with Chera and Walsh as well. He drifted into that right channel. Comes back inside as well. He's an extra. This guy is brilliant. We know I loved him in the draft. Said that he would be a top 5 pick if he stayed and went the next year after. Was he underage player count and snagged him? He's a gem. Really developed everything as well. His engine work is now brilliant. One of the problems at juniors was he kind of had inside numbers but was an outsider, and then his outside numbers were too inside. Really settling into his role now. Said at the time that think of Jack McRae. And you're starting to see it, the way that he peels off, finds space. His understanding of football is phenomenal. Real high IQ player. Knows when to drop back when we win the ball, so he's the extra option. Knows when to get ahead. Real intelligent footballer. I've got a lot of time for him. And for me, if I was picking the team against North, he would be another one who's coming in because now's the time. That is an issue for County. If County want to fix their turnover transition, they have to find wide players that can rotate. We've got the least rotations in the midfield, which is an issue when you're playing our brand because it's hard to keep up to that gear 5 all the time. Having players like this you can float are integral. And what I'm enjoying as well is him getting in them hot zones in the forward 50. Really love this kid. Love this kid, and now is the time to play him. North Melbourne is the game that you have a shy at these players. Have a look, see what they're doing. BRODIE KEMP, another one, right? I've got to say this. He plays the Jack Martin role, making himself available, bursting out. You have this guy and JSOS doing that role, forget about it. He works the wing really hard, which allows overlap from his halfback, but more importantly, for his forward pocket and his wing to get going. And this is what he does. What Kemp really does well is where he is, he allows other players to work in and around the space. He is a space provider as well. Absolute brilliant. Running back, works hard. Elite engine. I don't care what anyone says. I do think it is a little bit early to trial this forward impact when there is question marks over Marchbank and McGovern, but fuck that. This is his position. This is where he will win a flag for Coward, playing this third forward role. Mark my words, it is a great decision by the club. Something he played a lot of juniors. Forget that midfield. That midfield berth, that was started by his junior coach before he had the ACL. His primary role is this. This is where he's strong. Down the back and in the forward line. And the forward line, he really did start to make a name for himself because of his ability to be clutch in the clutch moment, swinging forward. I love it. And I think in the future, when 4 years down the track, he's your swingman. I don't think he's the midfielder. I don't think we need it now. I think we've gone past that. If you look at our midfield, it's way too one-dimensional. BRODIE KEMP is another bigger body. We don't need that. What we need is someone to work the flanks hard, make himself available, and then get forward. This here, when I watch him, I just think Charlie Kerner, Harry Mackay, him doing that running, gut running, I froth it. And honestly, Kemp, for me, get him in. I said it was the goal when you get him in. Took the goal well, should have had 2 or 3. Was in the hot zones all the time. I love this kid. Love him. Really enjoyed his game. And it's not the stats, it's the things stats don't show. It's how hard he works, the intensity. And I think if Harry's out, I'd be playing him, and then you can float them through that key position. But Kemp coming up that on that wide, it gives you that option with JSOS to play him a bit more centrally and allow this kid. And you watch, he will damage AFL teams because he is so smart. Tom Williamson absolutely adored this game. And we talk about Willow as a wing. Man, this was it. He was definitely the primary defensive winger. And I loved it. And he was brilliant. What Williamson gives you is his long booming kick, which Setterfield doesn't. Also, his intent was there. In the wing, I said it a couple of years ago when we played him off the halfback, I don't like him there because he's naturally aggressive. And he's found his role, he's found his niche, and I loved it. You look at the tackles, he was everywhere, working the contest really well. And I think that's an issue for Carlton. In the wider stoppages, we kind of go to butter unless they're in the corridor. And he works it marvellously. Absolutely enjoyed it. The link-up play as well was phenomenal. Stocker, him, Kemp linked up. They're always on like a transient plane, them and Carroll. They're on kind of like some kind of mythical realm that we just kind of exist on. They've got a sixth sense, and I really like these. And feel like I'm bringing in everyone, but he would be a shout for me. I believe wingmen work in pairs, and I would like to see the pair of Willow, well, the trio really of Willow, Carroll, and Carroll and O'Brien. I'd like to see that. Them 3 work together. I'd like to see it. I think it gives you a lot of options. We know that Doc likes to start on the wing when the pressure's on. We've seen that a few times from Vossi. It gives you them options. So I still think Willow's far away. I really enjoyed his game. Phil P. I like Phil. He's starting to build in. Probably wasn't his greatest game by influence, but he works hard, makes himself available. He isn't far away for me. Did get caught, I thought, heavily on the defence, but you can see that that's a focus when you watch the VFL of the team defence. But he's everywhere. He works it really hard, and I'm really enjoying what Phil's bringing. He's starting to bring some layers for me. He's quick. Does drift in and out of the games for me sometimes. I'd like to see him make himself available. I feel like he gets drawn to the contest a lot. Don't know if that is an instruction. It's something we see in the AFL an awful lot as well. Players get drawn into it. I want to see him just a bit away from it, but I really enjoyed Philpy's game. He's really starting to bubble and build something along nicely, and I'm enjoying seeing his development. My boy, Big Dommy! Dommy, best game for the club. Absolute brilliant. Starting to really start to read it and having the confidence to come off his man, his confidence to peel in and drop in the space, as shown there by a few of his marks. Works the ground well, really looks to as well with his pace. That touch there, them 2 touches on the wing, he's ran about 20 metres for them. Really enjoy it. He's starting to build nicely, and I'm really enjoying it. Still a bit of body work to do. Probably needs to come round and see my Nana, God bless her, if she was still alive, and have a good steak meal. But he's starting to build him, and I love Dom. I love him. Proud sponsor here, and it's building nicely. And then the Murkoff, the Ruckman. Rucking along nicely, pardon the pun. 42 hit outs for him. Did really well, really, in the ruck department. The 7 touches, the 3 marks. He makes himself available. Tackles. You can see that that's something he has to do, because when he has the ball as well, his delivery is really good. Some of them kicks are peaches. Puts it in the right area. Needs to, I think, drop back a little bit and find the space, which he's starting to do. But you can see the primary focus at the moment is using his body well around the stoppages, which he does impeccably, making himself a nuisance. I don't think he's ever going to be a 20 touch ruckman. I think he's going to be very a Mumford type ruckman. You know, you're 12, you're 13, and he gets himself in the way. And he does it really well. And again, development, layers upon layers. This kid here, if I was giving out most layers in a season, this kid would probably be locked to win it. Really impressed with his development. And with the injury to Peternet, is he ready for AFL football? In short, no. Necessity says, though, he may have to play at some point. Would I be worried? Not at all. Not at all, because he makes himself a nuisance and he's really working his body really well. He's had a few issues against Soldo where I think he fought back really well. Soldo is a tricky customer, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. And like, if he's got to play, he's got to play. But he's not far off. Do you know what I mean? He's not far off. That's the wrap then. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. It does help the channel out. Please join as well. Become a member of the channel if you can. That would be grouse. I'll be back Friday with the preview for the big game. I'll be on tomorrow on Blue Abroad as well for the live teams with my mate Lechdog. Make sure you come and say hello to me. Have a safe week. Enjoy yourselves. See you Friday. Pon out.